If you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, check out Beam's Dream Powder. It's a delicious, calming hot cocoa powder that you can mix into milk or water. It has a dose of melatonin backed by science to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. It's smooth, tasty, easy as a way to add to your nightly routine, but most importantly, it works. Melatonin is one of the most studied supplements in the world. And right now you'll get up to 40% off when you go to shopbeam.com/David and use the code David. The link is in the description. Welcome, everybody. We're going to start today by talking about the latest involving ICE. We will then discuss what's happening with Ukraine, Russia, and these elusive munitions. We are going to look at the White House roundtable involving African leaders, which was a complete and total humiliation for Donald Trump. We're going to hear from Aaron Parnas. We will hear about Kristi Noem's latest declarations regarding the Texas floods. And we're also going to talk about a new Biden cancer conspiracy theory. So it is, I think we should record and save today's show rather than doing what we normally do, which is after it's done being recorded, we immediately hit the delete button and then that's it. We'll keep this one. So let's start with, not metaphorically, but literally, Trump's ICE running over protesters. Trump's ICE drove a vehicle through a crowd of protesters in San Francisco. A woman was clinging to the hood. She was thrown off, almost run over. This happened in the United States of America in broad daylight outside of a courthouse. And under Donald Trump's orders, we now have ICE, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, really behaving like an occupying military force, which of course is the authoritarian dream. We saw outside the San Francisco Immigration Court a black ICE SUV plow through at least 6 protesters trying to stop what they saw as the illegal and immoral arrests of an immigrant. People were thrown, pepper spray was deployed, and at one point an ICE agent actually brandished a rifle and pointed it at protesters and pointed it at the press. Authoritarians love this stuff. And this is arguably the most violent encounter in San Francisco yet. And that says something, because under Trump's second term, ICE has been escalating and escalating and escalating, physically dragging people out of public places, detaining immigrants who voluntarily show up to hearings, and now, yes, running people over with cars. Here's a little video just to give you a sense of the atmosphere and the chaos. So you see the van here. You see people on the hood. You see them plowing through individuals. We now have a number of individuals sort of pressing back on the hood as the van moves forward. So as you can see, complete and total chaos. There is another video where I guess the van encountered another group of protesters, and it only got even more insane.
What are you gonna say? What are you gonna say, motherfucker?
And there goes the van. So listen, it is not lost on me that you are not allowed to just block traffic, right? So I know people are going to write in and go, well, actually, David, it's true that even though ICE is being a little bit aggressive, you're not allowed to impede traffic. I get that. And I have said many times, when protesters shut down a bridge to make a point, and then commuters are just furious, you're actually turning people against the cause you are advocating for. I've talked about that before. What we are seeing here, of course, is desperation, not in the general sense. Let's shut down a bridge to inform people about climate change. ICE is doing specific actions at the direction of Trump. These are arguably against the law. We are not giving people due process. We are not even doing what Trump said was going to be done. And this is desperation. And the reaction from ICE is to go even crazier and to start running people over. In a sense, protesters were doing what Americans have done since the founding of the country, which is we link arms, we use bikes to block, we shout slogans. It is not allowed to block traffic, but also there was no violence here. And ICE resorted to violence. ICE agents charge in and they slam protesters to the pavement and they pepper spray and they scream obscenities. And the police reportedly stood by and watched. And so one of the things I think is important to understand is that if we step back from individual tactics, which you may or may not like, what authoritarianism looks like is not just the use of state violence, but the glee with which the state actors seem to carry it out, the boldness, the impunity, and the message is we can do this to you. Nobody's going to stop us. San Francisco PD is not going to stop us. And it is not just a few rogue agents. It is really policy that's going on here. And this time it was ICE driving over protesters. Next time, what will it be? I don't know. So you don't have to support blocking courthouses. You don't have to support blocking streets to see what's wrong here. You just have to have the belief that government shouldn't run people over in the street, that federal agents supposedly carrying out the law shouldn't be screaming obscenities at civilians and waving rifles in public, that if you show up to your immigration hearing, you shouldn't be kidnapped on your way out. So what Trump's vision of law and order has turned out to be doesn't include much law. It's certainly not orderly. It's not safety. It's not justice. It's about power and control and generating fear. And that is exactly what they are succeeding at doing. A bizarrely orange Donald Trump admitted he has no idea what's going on in his government, and he's not even curious. When Joe Biden was president, Donald Trump insisted someone else is really in charge here. And yet, whenever Joe Biden was asked about an incident or a policy, he knew he would speak slowly. He was forgetful. I don't think Biden should have run for re-election, but Biden was in the loop. And he clearly knew what was going on in the country and around the world when he was president. Trump has now again been asked for the second day in a row, who ordered the munitions to Ukraine? What did Trump say? You're going to have to, I don't know what technological tool, some kind of descrambler. You're going to have to do some hard work to figure out what Trump's saying, because Trump first says, I haven't thought about it. Essentially, I don't care to figure out who made the decision about the Ukrainian munitions. But then he goes back and forth about, no, if someone did it, I'm going to find out. And it probably was me. I will be making the decision in the future. But he's being asked about a decision that was already made. The guy doesn't know what's going on. And so it's not a conspiracy to say who's really running the country right now. It's just a practical matter. Listen to this.
Yeah, please.
Sir, yesterday you said that you were not sure who ordered the munitions halted to Ukraine. Have you since been able to figure that out?
Well, I haven't thought about it because we're looking at Ukraine right now and munitions, but I have not gone into it.
So he says, I haven't looked into who made the order, but we are looking into it now as if it's something that they might do but hasn't yet been done, but it has.
What does it say that such a big decision could be made inside your government without you knowing?
I would know. If a decision was made, I will know.
I will know. I would know. I will know. Is he talking about the past or the future? It's not clear Trump knows what this is about.
I'll be the first to know. In fact, most likely I'd give the order, but I haven't done that yet.
Wait a second. So now he's saying it certainly wasn't him who gave the order on the Ukrainian munitions. There is no charitable interpretation here. It's either memory and cognition problems, and this is fundamentally a brain problem, or it's Trump is completely checked out of the presidency. He's just not in charge. he doesn't know what's going on. Both are very problematic. Peter Doocy asks regarding the investigations now going on into former FBI Director James Comey, former CIA Director John Brennan. Do you want to see them behind bars? Trump's response, yikes.
James Comey and John Brennan now under criminal investigation related to the Trump-Russia probe. Do you want to see these two guys behind bars?
Well, I know nothing about it other than what I read today, but I will tell you, I think they're very dishonest people. I think they're crooked as hell, and maybe they have to pay a price for that. I believe they are truly bad people and dishonest people.
There you go. Trump knows nothing about it, but it may be time for Brennan and Comey to pay a price. Spoken like a true authoritarian. Trump asked a really reasonable question. How did you calculate the tariffs of this latest round? When you sent out the letter to Tunisia about 25%, and you sent out a letter to Serbia with whatever percent that was, how did you calculate it? Trump says the calculation was common sense.
Sir, can you explain how you calculated your latest round of tariffs? Was there a formula that was used? And do you expect any of these countries to face tariffs as well?
Can you imagine a formula?
The formula was a formula based on common sense, based on deficits, based on how we've been treated over the years, and based on raw numbers. And we're going to have a couple of more coming out today. Brazil, as an example, has been not good to us, not good at all. We're going to be releasing a Brazil number, I think, later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning.
So common sense. When the guy with no common sense says he's doing economic policy by common sense, you know we're in trouble. And he, by bringing up trade deficits, it still seems that it's possible that what Trump did is look at the trade deficit between the U.S. and other countries and divide it by 2 or something like that and say that's the tariff rate. But that's just humiliatingly pathetic. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. Now, here's the cherry on top. Apparently, to make fun of Joe Biden, Peter Doocy asked Trump, when was the last time you went sunbathing? Because Trump has commented before about, Biden goes to the beach. And Trump goes, it's been 70 years, essentially. But of course, the relevant question is Trump's color. Trump's so damn orange from apparent spray tanning that even though this was meant to make fun of Biden, in a way, it's actually a cell phone of Trump.
And now, a few weeks after the strikes that you ordered on the nuclear facilities in Iran, there is an Iranian official who says you, President Trump, have done something that he can no longer sunbathe in Mar-a-Lago. As you lie there with your stomach to the sun, a small drone might hit you in the navel. It's very simple. Do you think that's a real threat? And when is the last time you went sunbathing anyway?
It's been a long time. It's been a long time. I don't know. Maybe I was around 7 or so. I'm not too big into it. Yeah, I guess it's a threat.
There you go. And of course, Trump confirming that his orange hue is some godforsaken combination of spray tan, tanning booth maybe, and makeup. What a world. What a world. This show is available in its full glory on Spotify and on Apple Podcasts. I would love it, even if you watch on YouTube or other platforms. If you subscribed to the show and rated it on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, it really helps us out. We're going to take a quick break and then summit at the White House with African leaders. If you think you've seen the worst of what can happen at the White House, well, I've got a little video to show you after this short break. If you're struggling to fall asleep, waking up too early, waking up too many times during the night, you're not alone, and you don't have to rely on sleep medications. Beam's Dream is a delicious hot cocoa infused with melatonin. This is a naturally occurring hormone that helps you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. No grogginess the next day, no side effects, just better sleep. Dream comes in amazing flavors like sea salt caramel, cinnamon cocoa, and brownie batter. 0 added sugar, sweetened with monk fruit, only 15 calories per serving. Stir it into hot water or milk, sip, relax, and that is it. It is not just a sleep aid. It can become a bedtime ritual that you might actually look forward to. Thousands of happy sleepers swear by it. See what a difference a mug can make. Go to shopbeam.com/David and use code David for 40% off. The link is in the description. We are attempting to build more than a show here. We're really trying to foment a movement where we build the overall audience for progressive independent media, a movement where we generate more voters and activists, and a movement where we also encourage more people to become content creators. That when people ask me, what are the goals? Is it just to have an audience? It's to grow activism, to grow other content creators, to make the pie bigger. And the primary way that we do that and we fund that is through membership, either right on our website or through Substack, or in some cases, both. So I invite you to subscribe at joinpacman.com. I invite you to become a paid Substack subscriber at substack.davidpacman.com, or both. And remember that you can request a free membership at davidpacman.com/free membership. Substack also will randomly gift free memberships to people on our newsletter list. So get on that newsletter at substack.davidpacman.com. We are in the if Biden ever did this presidency, and I mean any of it. One gaffe, one interaction that gets awkward, one out of touch comment. And if Biden did it, it would be front page news for a week, panel discussions on Fox News, wall-to-wall coverage, and Republican lawyers explaining that the 25th Amendment must be invoked to remove Joe Biden. But with Donald Trump, he gets applause for being proudly ignorant. Isn't it so endearing? Isn't it so quaint? Isn't it so funny? Trump said to the president of Liberia, Boakai, "You speak such good English. How did you learn to speak English so beautifully?" English is the official language of Liberia. I present to you pure and total humiliation.
Well, thank you. It's such good English, such beautiful. Where did you learn to speak so beautifully? Where were you educated? Where?
Yes, sir.
In Liberia.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's very interesting. It's beautiful English.
Sure.
I have people at this table can't speak nearly as well,
Very
and
good,
they.
sir. Thank you.
Yeah. English is the official language of Liberia. Imagine going to, oh God, what a timeline. Imagine going to Quebec City in Canada and going, "Where did you pick up that French?" "Well, we speak French here, sir." But Trump says it and MAGA hears a compliment. He's being diplomatic. He's being so nice to the Liberian president. Meanwhile, if Biden did it, Fox News would have a reverse countdown going to Biden must be removed from office within this amount of time. Trump takes pride in not knowing stuff. If Biden ever, at another point during this completely failed summit with African leaders, Trump encourages them to wrap it up and says, "We've got to go more quickly because I've got stuff to get to here. Just give me your name and the name of your country."
Resources in our sea waters, so lots of fishing and whatnot. I don't want
So if you're just listening, Trump just made a move it along gesture with his hand.
to spend too much time on this.
But I appreciate it very much. I appreciate it. Maybe we're going to have to go a little bit quicker than this because we have a whole schedule. If I could just say it's, your name and your country would be great. Thank you, please.
This is a diplomatic summit. For Trump, it's like open mic night at a Mar-a-Lago fundraiser. Can we move a little more quickly here? He can't be bothered to listen to what they have to say. I have never seen Trump this bored, and Trump is bored all of the time. And you know what? None of them said thank you to Trump. None of them brought a letter nominating Trump for the Nobel Peace Prize. How dare these people? But this wasn't even the scariest part. This was embarrassing. this was a total lack of decorum and protocol and just Trump exposing his ignorance. But the really scary part happened when Trump took questions. Donald Trump now appears unable to parse the meaning of basic questions. We have entered the phase of the Trump presidency where he's no longer answering questions, he's reacting to the sound of them. Now, I want you to watch this very carefully. Peter Doocy, Fox News reporter of all people, tosses Trump a softball question. Do you think there's a threat of a left-wing militia targeting ICE? You know, a simple yes or no, or let me talk about Antifa would have probably done the trick. But instead, Trump just starts saying random words. I do not believe that Trump has the cognitive capacity to parse, understand, and meaningfully respond to most questions.
Do you think that this was an isolated incident, or do you think there's a national threat of a left-wing militia that is targeting ICE and CBP?
Well, I think you have some very stupid people in the left who have some money that are making it available to these people, because you look at the guns they had, they were brand new. You look at even the clothing they were wearing, it looked like it just came out of some military shop. So you have some very stupid people that if anything ever happened, they'd be the first to go. They don't understand that. They'd be the first to go. They'd be the first ones hit. But there is money being put behind people. When you look at the weapons they have, the newness of the weapons, rifles that just came out and they have the latest model. So there's something going on, and we'll get to the bottom of it.
He does not seem to understand the core of the question. His brain seems to be catching a buzzword here or there, weapons, money, people, and he just starts riffing. He's not connecting ideas. He's unable to think in a sophisticated way, and it only gets worse because Peter Doocy then tries to get Donald Trump to react to a John Fetterman quote, but Trump has trouble understanding it. He looks confused. He's struggling to follow the meaning. This isn't a tough question. These are softballs from Peter Doocy, and Trump doesn't get it.
It's going to be okay, but he got hit yesterday in the neck. No good.
And what would you think if I read you a quote from a lawmaker who says about ICE, to abolish it, to treat them as criminals or anything that is inappropriate and outrageous? And I told you that that was Democrat John Fetterman.
Wow. It's, by the way, I assume when you read that, because you paused in the middle, you're going to have to read that again without the pause. Could you read that again, please?
Trump has no idea what it was. He's saying, oh, the pause threw me off. Read it again. Trump does not understand what is being read to him.
To abolish it, to treat them as criminals or anything that's inappropriate and outrageous.
So he's saying that to treat the people that did the shooting is... Oh, okay, good. Because
So again, after it was read a second time, Trump thinks the quote is about shooters rather than ICE officers. Folks, it's not working. Something is not working up there. It's been replaced with mayonnaise, veganese even. Meanwhile, Fox News continuing to do PR for Trump. They got so uncomfortable with how this was going, they just cut away.
big problem in Africa. Immigration will also be on the agenda, and I hope we can bring down the high rates of people overstaying visas and also make progress on the safe third country agreements.
We're going to keep monitoring the president's remarks with his meeting there with the leaders of 5 different African countries and sort of dip in as the new.
We'll monitor it in case Trump is able to recover any sense of coherence. We are watching in real time a man failing to process language. He's not dodging. He's not giving clever non-answers. He's not pivoting the way elected officials sometimes know how to do and do deliberately. He doesn't understand what is being said. And if this were Biden, we would have an emergency 60-minute special titled, Is the President Mentally Fit? But because it's Trump, we get silence or we get excuses. It's Trump being Trump. It's how he talks. He's doing the weave. This is how someone talks when they do not understand what is being said to them. We'll have more about this on today's Substack newsletter. which you can find at substack.davidpakman.com. The David Pakman Show is an audience-supported program, and the best, most direct way to support the show is by becoming a member at joinpakman.com. You'll get the daily bonus show, the daily commercial-free show, and plenty of other great membership perks. Get the full experience by signing up at joinpakman.com. I recently had a great Substack live conversation with Aaron Parnas. Some of you may or may not know Aaron is the son of Lev Parnas, who has been a guest on this program. Look him up. He played an incredible role in the Ukraine fiasco involving Donald Trump. Aaron has become one of the biggest independent content creators on short form media, including TikTok and other platforms. We had an awesome conversation. I'm having a bunch of these lives over on Substack. You can get them as they happen if you subscribe at substack.davidpakman.com. Let's get into it.
All right, we are live. I'm here with Aaron Parnas. Aaron, great to see you. You know, every day is so busy and crazy that it's a miracle that we even found a way to do this today, but I'm glad that we did.
I'm so excited. The news cycle has been so crazy. I think ever since the big, beautiful breakup, as I call it, between Elon and Trump, it just kind of has been nuts for literally a month and a half now. And it hasn't stopped from that to LA to Iran to now budget. I mean, it's just like more and more and more.
I wanted to ask you about this because today I did a segment that it's out in my podcast, but the YouTube clip isn't out yet. And there's this kind of weird thing where I always want to tell my audience the truth, and I know that you also do.
Yeah.
And as we know in politics, sometimes there's like the truth and the whole truth and the strategic truth. And as it applies to this budget bill, 3 weeks ago or whenever it was that the House first passed it, right? I went to my audience and I said, listen, we don't have the cards in the sense of how Trump said it to Zelensky. I believe there's going to be a fight in the Senate. I believe there's going to be holdouts. There's going to be posturing. I do think eventually they're going to pass the bill. They will get goodies until they get to 50,
right,
and then bring in J.D. Vance, and he's going to break the tie. At the same time, I don't want to demoralize my audience and tell them nothing we do matters. Don't call. Don't. So I'm curious your take because you're reporting on a lot of the same stuff. Your audience is not exactly the same as mine. How do you balance the desire to be honest, but also not to demoralize people and say there's nothing we can do here?
Well, I mean, I think so. I'm a realist, but I'm also an optimist, right? And I think that's how you balance it by letting people know that there is optimism to be had, right? Like theoretically right now, even today, I mean, Thomas Massey just came out and said that he has 10 Republicans with him who are willing to vote no. If I had to bet, 9 out of those 10 are going to end up voting yes, right? Like, and I say that, right? I say like, hey, 10 are saying they're voting no. Odds are they're going to fold like they do almost every single time, but it's not a done deal. And I think that a big part of all these budget fights and these fights over bills and stuff is not necessarily the bill itself and the vote on the bill. It's the public narrative around it. Because all of these people that are voting for this bill right now are going to have to face voters in 2026. And if I tell followers and I tell folks on the internet that, guys, it's a done deal, this is going to pass no matter what you do now, then there's going to be no loud noise around it, right? And what come 2026, they're not going to be held accountable by their voters because no one's going to know what they just voted on. At least now, the silver lining in all of this, yes, this bill will likely pass. Trump will likely sign it into law. But we just spent the past several weeks really banging the drum significantly about this bill and all the bad provisions in it. And so people are going to remember that. If we just kind of said, listen, realistically, this is going to pass. There's really nothing you can do. Your calls won't work. Your your messages won't work. Then they would win the narrative game as well, if that makes sense.
That does make sense. And I think one of the difficulties of the positions we're in is we are both, at least I'll speak for myself and you tell me if you agree. We are trying to inform our audiences.
Yeah.
We are trying to provide a community that's an alternative, obviously, to the community that the right has built, but also the kind of, on the one hand, on the other hand, corporate media community, right? We want to create a different community.
Yeah.
And part of creating a community is people having something to hope for, something to work on. And so part of it, I think, is we're in this place where we have the priority to inform, the priority to keep people engaged, and the priority of building a community. And sometimes it's sort of like, I'll give you another example. After the June 27th debate, up until June 27th, I had said to my audience, I didn't think Biden should have run for re-election. But as of today, I think he's the best shot. I think if he gets out, that in and of itself is so negative that we're worse. After June 27th, I said, listen, guys, I believe the pressure is going to get to the point where Biden will have to step down. Some in my audience said, you got to stay positive. You're being defeatist. That's not going to happen, David.
Yeah.
And I just had to be honest, right? So I think it goes to the point of what sort of a space are we trying to create?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think for me, it's a little different in the sense that, like, I rarely share my opinions on things, right? Like, I try to keep it as just like, here are the facts. I'm not telling you how to think or what to think. I'm not going to tell you my opinions to try to sway you one way or the other. Listen, if you think this bill is great, that's on you. It's not. That's not for me to tell you it's this horrible thing if you think it's going to be great for yourself and your family. But ultimately, I think that what the left has that the right doesn't have is truth and facts. When facts are presented to people, they often skew left. Right. This election was not decided by millions of votes. It was decided by 200,000 votes in 3 swing states, and it would have very well been different, in my opinion, if Biden dropped out earlier, or honestly, if the Harris campaign had a simpler message. Right? It was one or the other. And so I think that the difference between Republicans and Democrats is not far off, but the difference is the truth. And if Democrats continue pushing the truth, then people will vote blue. That's what I've seen.
What's your sense right now of the way that legacy and corporate media have reacted to what you do? And in a sense, what you do is even more on the vanguard than what I do, because you're even doing it much more quickly. Like, I react quickly to things, but it's a 24-hour cycle. I've been in play, when the last time we were in DC, I hope that this is a peek behind the curtain that's appropriate. All of a sudden, Aaron's gone. And then you look and he's off in a corner or under a bookcase somewhere recording a video. And I'm realizing he's posting videos right now. He has stepped away for 90 seconds to post a video. What's your sense of how corporate media is reacting to the immediacy of what you do, the emotional salience, even if you don't give your opinion, of being right there in it and telling people right away? Do you think that they're trying to figure out how to do what you do, or that they're just sort of, give me your sense?
Yeah, they don't like what I do because it pushes them to do it better and faster. That's what I've kind of seen. So, like, they don't like it in the sense of, like, they think that I am somehow taking their viewers or somehow competing with them. I tell everyone I'm not in competition with mainstream media or corporate media in any way, because my viewers are either A, young people who don't watch corporate media, or older folks who are tired of corporate media. That is my demographic. It's not people who read the Washington Post every morning, even though I have some folks that do, but that's not the overwhelming majority of folks that follow me. And so it's not a competition. I actually think we should work more with corporate media. The more people are informed, the better, in my opinion. But I think from a just general sense, corporate media is really trying to adapt to what I'm doing, in the sense of they too are now on TikTok posting right away. They too are now trying to get their emails out to folks faster. I've spoken to a number of journalists, and they all kind of agree. And I will say this: I've spoken to a number of journalists who, I guess, like 6 months ago would have told me, you would never catch me in front of a camera, but now you see them also appearing on a camera. And it's not, I mean, corporate media isn't all bad, right? Like, the execs and those at the top might be, in my opinion, but the journalists that work for the Times or work for the Post, they're really good journalists. They do the good work that I don't have the capacity to do. You don't have the capacity. Like, we don't have the capacity to go and stake out the Diddy trial every single day for 35 days. They are doing great work. And so I think it's important to distinguish the two. And I also think it's important to see that they are shifting. They are shifting. They want more like us, I guess, in a way, to kind of amplify their work, at least from what I've seen.
One of the really interesting things that I have to say, there's not that much to be optimistic about right now, but one of the things that I do have some optimism in is that last year, certainly, I don't know that elected officials on the left really understood the power of independent media in the way that they're starting to get it. And right now, I mean, just 2 weeks ago, I did an interview with Gavin Newsom. Across all the platforms, 2.5 million views.
Yeah.
your average appearance on corporate news media right now, 400,000's really good, and that's the peak for the hour. That doesn't even necessarily mean the people that see that segment that takes 8 minutes or whatnot. So are we right to be optimistic? And then I guess the concern from audiences sometimes is, listen, if all the Democrats start going to David and Aaron, then it's just going to be another version of the same thing that wasn't working.
I actually don't think so, to the second part, because I get messages every day. A number of my followers are Republican. A number of them are independent. Like Democrat, it's not just Democrats following me, and really it is breaking through. I mean, I think just in the past 6 months on TikTok, I've reached over 100 million unique Americans. Like that's not just Democrats. That's all of the above. And I think that I hope that we don't ever get to the point where where people are like, well, it's just corporate media again. And part of it is like, at least in my sense, because I don't give people opinions, I really don't want to tell people what to think. And right now, if you watch CNN between the hours of 6 and 10, you're going to have Abby Phillip with Scott Jennings for an hour telling people what to think. You're going to have Jake Tapper trying to sell a book. It's not news anymore. If you go on Fox, it's not news. I mean, Fox really hasn't been used for a while. Same thing with MSNBC. It's just Democratic talking points for 6 hours a night. So I I really think that like they're trying to be us in a way, but it's not going to work. It really isn't, because it's also like the people behind it, right? Like they're watching you for you, David. They're not watching you because you're going to give them an opinion that they're going to see on TV.
That's one of the things I think is really interesting about the legacy media folks who have made the transition to independent.
Yeah.
Because one of the real questions, like I'll give you an example of someone who's doing it really well, Don Lemon.
Yeah.
When Don Lemon went from CNN to independent, there's a question. Were people watching Don Lemon because they wanted to hear from Don Lemon? Or were people watching Don Lemon because they're used to turning CNN on when Don Lemon is on and he's in a nice studio with the staff and the lighting and the makeup and the entire thing? Now, the answer with Don is no, he's built something here and people want to hear it from Don Lemon. We're seeing other examples of this right now, some coming from the TV space, some from radio, some from writing. That, I think, is one of the differences with a lot of the legacy establishment, which is we know that on the independent side, there is a connection between the audiences and the people, whether it's for news, opinion, or a blend of the two. I don't know if that's objectively good or bad, but I do think it's something that ties us to our audiences.
I think it's good. I mean, here's the thing. I'm shocked sometimes that people like my content, because if you watch my videos, half of them are me like rolling out of bed with like messed up hair and just like no production, no anything. Like last night, I appeared actually on ABC News for the first time, and they did my makeup, and like I look like a whole different person. And I was just like, I don't know that this isn't me. Like I am filming wherever I am, whatever I'm doing, it doesn't matter. And I think that's a really big part of this kind of independent media landscape. Like, when's the last time you saw Jake Tapper record a video walking down the streets? Like that doesn't happen. Like there, I guess legacy media was built on this idea of like production value over content in a way. And people watch CNN and Fox and MSNBC because it's so well produced and because it's so nice. But then when you actually like listen to the content, it's not that great in my opinion. And so I think it's actually better, these relationships that we're building, because it's not just between me and a viewer. It's the viewers themselves are building it on Substack and these chats. We're really organizing in a way that you haven't really been able to before. I mean, you tell me, you're a lot more produced than I am, still less produced than mainstream, but like, have you seen it at all?
Which aspect of it?
In terms of like that connection aspect, because of kind of more so of like the lack of production and stuff. Yeah.
Oh, completely. Completely. And, I think there's pros and cons to it, right? I think that some of the emails that people are willing to send me, they would never think to send to Jon Stewart. Okay. Now, these are disgusting emails. Okay. So understand that what I'm saying here is really getting to sort of like the dark underbelly. But the upside of that is I will bump into people and there's a shared language and understanding of the space we occupy and what we're going for here that I think is unique to the space we occupy.
Yeah. No, I agree. And I will say this. I mean, the emails I get, I'm sure you get them too. They're insane. In terms of like, I get threats to my emails. I get like, it's really bad. But another part, like on the flip side of it, I tell everyone, if you really want to know an answer to something or you want something more from me, email me. And I get a bunch of emails every day that I respond to, and I interact with people every single day on email. And I'm just like, happy to answer your questions. I'm happy to give you more information about a story. I'm happy to even kind of hold your hand a little bit through this difficult time. Like whatever I can do, I will. And maybe it's not good for my mental sanity doing that, but I think it's
It
an
may not
important
be.
part of it.
I want to shout out Adam Mockler, who just I saw
Mockler.
in the audience. Always good to see Adam. I want to ask you about something that's like sort of a little bit darker, but because you are a lawyer by trade and I am
Yeah.
not, I'm interested in getting your take. I'm more worried than I've ever been about potentially becoming a target of this administration in a number of different ways.
Yeah.
We're seeing the lawsuits against media that say things Trump doesn't like. We are
Yeah.
seeing targeting based on political opinion or public presence. There's another layer to this. Remind me, were you born in the U.S.?
Thankfully, yes.
You
I
were.
mean,
Okay.
thankfully in the sense that I'm like, I can travel outside the United States without fear right now.
Right. So, of course, I'm a citizen, but I'm a
Right.
naturalized citizen. So there's this whole other layer there. I
Yeah.
mean, we're almost 6 months into this thing. How worried are you about this administration weaponizing the DOJ against progressive creators?
Very worried. And I'd be lying to you if I said that it was going to be fine. I actually think that in the next 4 years, 3.5 years now, there is going to come a time where this Department of Justice will directly target one of us. And I say that not because we may do something wrong, but because they want to test how far they can go, and whether or not they can get away with potentially arresting one of us for something. Like, for example, I had a whole thing with them over the past month where people on like Republicans online were like, arrest him because he's impeding ICE, because I made a video saying that there'll
I
be
saw
ICE
that.
raids in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
Theoretically, that I would not put this Department of Justice, like put prosecuting me for that would not put it past this Department of Justice. And especially I think as we kind of go more even investing into this, like the more I'm fearful of, the more I get on the ground and like actually cover protests on the ground, right? Like I'd like to go to ICE raids and cover them and show people what the ICE um, agents are doing. I think in those situations, we open ourselves up as targets even more. And I wouldn't be surprised if they try to make an example out of one of us. But I will say this on the flip side: if they try to do that, if they arrest me or if they arrest you, I know there's millions of people on the internet who are going to literally stand up and say this is not okay. Like this is not a situation where an arrest will just kind of be quiet.
Yeah. On that note, I'm curious what you think the best defense against this is. Obviously, everybody understanding our rights is a great starting point, but I do
Yeah.
think two things. One, the bigger our platforms get, the bigger of an insurance policy we theoretically have. And then number two, also not to sort of think selfishly, but the more of us that are doing this, the less likely any one person is
Yeah.
to be targeted. And also, if there's 100 of us versus 1,000 versus 10,000, if you take out one of 100, that's 1%. If you take out one of 1,000, that's 0.1%. The idea being make it less appealing to go after any one person because the ecosystem is so big.
Oh, for sure, 100%. And I think that's, I mean, if you've watched how they've been arresting lawmakers right now, I mean, like with LaMonica MacIver in New Jersey, Baraka, and I think whatever they've been trying to go after some others. They've been doing it in situations where it's like intentionally vague, right? Like LaMonica MacIver's arrest and indictment, is an intentionally vague situation, and that theoretically you can look at that and be like, maybe she may have unlawfully touched an ICE agent. It's not 100% clear. I don't think she did anything wrong based on my analysis, but a Department of Justice attorney can look at that and be like, you know what? It's not a frivolous case. Arresting me for saying that ICE is coming to DC based on something that I've seen, that would be a frivolous case, and I don't think they would do that. So I think that's another part of it is like they're going to look at the places in the gray area. And I agree with you. I think that if we have thousands of creators in this space and they take out one of us, there's so many of us that are going to continue parroting that same language and continue to talk about these important issues. So they can't silence everyone. That I don't think, at least.
What are you thinking between now and the midterms? And if you want to weigh in on whether you think Democrats have a coherent strategy other than we aren't Trump and we're not authoritarians, I want to hear that. I
Yeah.
I asked Brian Tyler Cohen this. He wasn't super convinced. I'll be honest. So question one is, do Democrats have some kind of coherent strategy between now and the midterms? But other than just, hey, here's the budget bill, Here's who you can call. It'll probably pass, but maybe not, right? So there's that type of reporting. What do you think is most important for the average person who maybe doesn't follow political news super closely to be informed about that's happening in the country?
Oh, I'm going to think about the second question while I answer the first question. The first question, no, I don't think Democrats have a unified message at all right now. But no, I don't necessarily think they need one right now. I've said for a long time that if you look back to 2020 after Biden won, in the 6 months, the same time period that we're in right now, afterwards, Republicans in the House talked about Mr. Potato Head for 6 to 8 months. That was their unified message, right? And they still won the House in 2022. I think people have very short memories. I think the news cycle is very quick. And I think the headwinds against the party in power in the White House are very strong after a president is elected. So I think that Democrats if Democrats don't win the House, it's because they royally do something bad, not necessarily because they have a good message, in my opinion. I think Democrats should be very favored to take back the House. That's number one. I think as far as the second thing, one issue that not enough people are thinking about or talking about, I think it's the idea that our country, it's more of a broad thing that while our country may seem like it's falling apart on a day-to-day basis, from a very macro level, it's not, right? It is still being held together. The courts are doing their job. And I think if anyone ever is worried, if anyone ever is scared that this budget bill is going to pass or whatnot, you have to go back and look at the courts. The courts are blocking 99% of what Donald Trump is doing. They are. And Donald Trump is not legislating. He's legislating through executive power, and you can't do that. And a lot of his executive orders, they're not law. People don't know that. They're not law. They're just him putting out a statement. That's really all it is. And a lot of them have been blocked and will continue to be blocked. And as far as this budget bill goes, everyone's scared about Medicaid cuts, SNAP cuts. I get it. Remember, they're not taking effect until after the midterm. So if you elect a Democratic House, a Democratic Senate, theoretically, I'm not saying it's possible, but there is a scenario in which some of these cuts can be rolled back.
Can you talk a little more about the court successes? Because when on Monday I interviewed Charles Chuck Schumer, the Senate Minority Leader of the Democratic Senate right now, he said, we're crushing it in the courts. And a lot of people wrote to me and said, but David, the Trump administration ignores court orders. So explain how the courts, it's more than just the few things Trump has ignored.
Yeah, if you look at it, Donald Trump actually hasn't, by the letter of the law, ignored a court order. They capitulate at the end. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, everyone's saying they ignored it. He's back in the United States. They did it, right? Like it may have been ignored for a period, but every single time a judge tells them to do something, they end up doing that. So that's number one, and I think a lot of people forget that. Number two is that Democrats are winning in the courts in almost every situation. Even take the Supreme Court ruling in the nationwide injunctions case. I don't think that was as big of a loss for Democrats as people make it out to be. Yes, nationwide injunctions can no longer be a thing in most cases. That's a big, big thing. But the Supreme Court left a key door open, and that's the class action. You can still block an executive order via class action, and that's exactly what's about to happen. And the Supreme Court completely said that was fine. Alito kind of screamed about it in his concurrence, but everyone else was saying that was fine. And so when you think about that, media is meant to drive clicks, right? Like the mainstream, like they want clicks. And so the headlines they're going to tell you, it's this horrible ruling, doom and gloom, Democrats are awful, blah, 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 blah. When you look at the actual how is this going to be applied practically, it's not as bad as a lot of people are making it out to be. So I think right now, Democrats have a 90% plus success rate in the courts blocking Trump policies. Not every policy is going to get blocked, just like not every policy Biden instituted was blocked by Republican judges. I mean, you're going to get some through. But the big ones, the birthright citizenship, for example, that's blocked, or it will be blocked via this class action, I predict. And it will be blocked when it gets up to the Supreme Court again, because I don't think there are 5 votes to change the 14th Amendment. So I just think
listen, Aaron, that's a relatively technical but incredibly important message for people to understand when they write to me and go, David, the courts aren't really blocking anything. You're saying, no, this is very significant.
It is very significant. And just because the Supreme Court, like even on the immunity stuff, right? Yes, the Supreme Court gave Trump a big win on immunity. But when you read that immunity decision, it doesn't foreclose ever prosecuting a president for everything, right? Like there are avenues in which these courts give Democrats the ability to kind of maneuver in. So it's not always all a loss. And while the nationwide injunction case is going to be the big one everyone talks about, for every one nationwide injunction case, you have 99 in which Democrats are winning. Just minutes ago, a federal judge blocked Donald Trump's, literally while we're on this, said that Trump's quote unquote invasion proclamation banning asylum is unlawful, right? That's not going to get many headlines. People aren't going to think about it because it's good news. People talk about the bad news, not the good news. So look to the 99 good things, not just the one bad thing that comes up.
In the last few minutes we have, what do you see as the most important action that your audience can take when they learn about something, in the sense of, some people say, I make content so that people understand the importance of the political system and they go out and vote. Voting is the thing I really want to inspire.
Yeah.
Others would say, well, I create content so that other people become content creators and do their, et cetera. What do you see as, like, when you envision the prototypical viewer of yours, what are you encouraging them to do implicitly with the content you create?
Yeah, I mean, I make content to educate. That's my goal, is for you to feel more educated, is for people to understand the news and these complex subjects. That's my goal. But what I do hope people get from my content is that activism is important and that using your voice is important. So whether that is at the polls, or whether that is volunteering for your local Democratic club, or whether that's even going to the dinner table tonight and talking to your uncle or your aunt about politics and about what's happening in this world, I really firmly believe it's funny, the Washington Post tagline, "Democracy dies in darkness." I believe democracy dies behind a paywall. And what I mean by that is when people aren't educated by the news, they are not informed to go make their voice heard. And their voice is powerful. And so what I want people to take away is that they can and should use their voice consistently to advocate for whatever they believe in, to whoever they're with. So that is my one thing.
Sort of more technical question. You dabbling in any new platforms, new content formats, anything that you're trying out right now?
Yes, I'm going to be heavily investing in David's platform soon, YouTube.
So next you'll be on the audio podcast with me.
So next I'll be with David there. But I'm launching a podcast soon, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, very cool, very cool. Aaron, always good to see you.
Yeah.
There's probably 15 to 20 videos that you now need to go record just based on the news of the last 26 minutes. So I'll let you go. If you're one of my followers, make sure to subscribe to Aaron's Substack. If you're one of Aaron's followers, I would love for you to subscribe to mine as well. Keep it up, Aaron. We're going to talk again soon.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
If you like this show, I would love for you to get my Substack writing. Each day, I'll send you a rundown of what's on the show, what's happening, what matters, why. It's free, no spam. Substack is also the only place where we own our data. So if we get censored on social media or on any platform, Substack's going to be the only way I can tell you what is going on. Sign up now at davidpakman.substack.com. Well, Donald Trump went on another late night Troth Central bender. And if you're wondering whether it was the calm and coherent, sane, rational, and de-escalatory President Trump, it wasn't. I don't know if that version of Trump exists. I do want to go through some of the things he said because they are so economically unhinged and even beyond that. Trump posting, quote, "I am announcing a 50% tariff on copper effective August 1, 2025, after receiving a robust national security assessment. Copper is necessary for semiconductors, aircraft, ships, ammunition, data centers, lithium-ion batteries, radar systems, missile defense systems, and even hypersonic weapons, of which we are building many. Copper is the second most used material by the Department of Defense. Why did our foolish and sleepy leaders decimate this important industry? This 50% tariff will reverse the Biden administration's thoughtless behavior and stupidity. America will once again build a dominant copper industry. This is, after all, our golden age." So this is not how trade policy works. Trade policy, whether you find it interesting, is one question. Some people might not. But if you understand trade policy, you don't roll out major tariffs in a randomly capitalized rant in the middle of the night like you're announcing a flash sale on gold bars. Trump claims he got a robust national security assessment. From who? The MyPillow War Council or his ghost advisors? And he then declares that copper is vital for semiconductors, batteries, hypersonic weapons that we're now building, and Biden destroyed everything. Except copper production was up under Joe Biden. The U.S. still produces more copper than almost every other country in the world. And calling this the golden age while ranting about copper doesn't transmit competence, it doesn't transmit knowledge, and it certainly doesn't transmit strength about national security. He's just like mixing metaphors with metals at this point in time. Okay, Trump continuing. Quote, I am pleased to announce that I am directing our great Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, to be interim administrator of NASA. Sean's doing a tremendous job handling our country's transportation affairs, including creating a state-of-the-art air traffic control systems, while at the same time rebuilding our roads and bridges, making them efficient and beautiful again. He will be a fantastic leader of the ever more important space agency, if only for a short period of time. Congratulations and thank you, Sean. Sean Duffy is not a scientist. Sean Duffy is a former MTV reality show contestant turned congressman who once said that America's national debt wasn't a big deal because he was only making $174,000 a year. So naturally, Trump giving him yet another job, putting him in charge of our space program, doesn't make any sense. And even if you could handle roads and bridges, it doesn't mean you're ready to lead NASA. He can't handle roads and bridges and certainly can't handle air travel, as we have seen. It's sort of like, putting the Surgeon General to coach the Olympic swim team because he knows about water and how humans need to drink it or something like that. Or it's almost like putting anti-vaxxer Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge of the Department of Health and Human Services, which Trump did. Okay, and then Trump continuing. The great Greg Jarrett says it's clear Trump was framed. The collusion narrative was a conspiracy itself. The collaborators knew it was a lie, but they manipulated the dossier and the CIA to peddle their fairy tale. Brennan and Comey manipulated the system and the document itself. They abused their power. Comey launched a case against Trump in violation of the FBI's regulations. He deceived the FISA court with a dossier to gain a spy warrant. John Brennan used the dossier knowing it was garbage. Okay, I'm not going to read the whole thing. As you can see, it is just the rantings of a madman. Trump's including all the greatest hits here. It's like a Fox News fever dream. The Russia hoax, the phony dossier, Brennan and Comey are criminals, the FISA court was deceived, James Comey needs therapy, Robert Mueller was out to get Trump, and it all really hurt America. This is fan fiction. It's quoting Greg Jarrett like it's quoting the Bible. And so Trump is loudly and proudly and strongly unraveling in the middle of the night, announcing economic policy like it's a wrestling promo, appointing unqualified loyalists to run NASA, and just frothing conspiracy theories. Is this what you want your president doing in the middle of the night? Not me. Kristi Noem thanked God after Texas floods killed more than 100 people. Why is it that she thanked God? Well, at least it's the case that more people didn't die. Let's take a listen to how she said it. I have thoughts. Take a listen.
Matters a lot. I'm extremely grateful for God's hand in that whole situation because hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people were saved. And this is a time for all of us in this country to remember that we were created to serve each other. God created us to take care of each other. And that when we do that, we are happier, we are more fulfilled, and we can walk alongside people on their worst day and help them get through it and come out the other side, knowing that we can continue to live a life that God has purposed for us. So
I'm sorry, guys. I really have a problem with this shit. Now, every time I talk about this, some people will write in and they'll go, David, you're not being respectful of her religious beliefs. She thanks God, I guess, that more people didn't die. She says, well, God saved hundreds of people who otherwise might have died in the floods. There are some very obvious questions here that I know some more religious viewers take offense to, but seem like obvious questions if you're talking about civil government, empiricism, science, and logic. Could God have prevented the floods altogether? Why didn't he? Could God have prevented anyone from dying in the floods if he chose not to prevent the floods? Because he's omnipotent, right? Well, God didn't prevent the floods. He either sent the floods or allowed them. God didn't prevent anyone, or I guess we would say everyone, from dying. He either caused some people to die in the floods or allowed some people to die in the floods. But we should be thanking God that he saved some people. God would have, had God not acted, 1,000 people might have died instead of 100 plus. Thanks to God, we got the floods. We got some deaths. We still have Trump as president, but we should be saying God did such a great job here, not for stopping the flood, not for preventing Trump from being president, not from preventing 100 people from dying, but God prevented more people from dying. If that's what you want to believe in private, okay. But this shit has no place in civil society, from the Secretary of Homeland Security making an official comment about a tragedy during a made-for-TV cabinet meeting, because that's what these are. Give me a break. Am I missing something? Let me know. Things are getting very unhinged, even by Fox News standards. Maria Bartiromo is still pretending to be a journalist rather than admitting she's just a Trump propagandist. She is now pushing a deranged conspiracy theory about Joe Biden and prostate cancer. Now, I'll be honest with you. I don't totally understand the conspiracy theory. I can't tell if she's suggesting that Joe Biden doesn't really have prostate cancer, but it was announced in order to take attention away from problems, or if she's saying he had prostate cancer all along and it was hidden. I don't totally understand the conspiracy theory. Let's see if we can understand it.
We know that right after the tapes came out from the Robert Hur interview, where we would have been able to see exactly how Biden answered those questions, suddenly the Democrats come up with an admission that Joe Biden has prostate cancer, right? I mean, how does that show up so fast? I mean, look, we've been questioning Biden's health on this program from almost the moment he stepped into office. We know that.
Yeah. So I think she's saying the Biden administration or his team, I guess now, the post-presidency team of Joe Biden is faking the cancer diagnosis as a distraction from the interview tapes. I think that's what she's saying. Or is she arguing that he had cancer all along and it was covered up? That's not really the impression I get. This is how far they've fallen. It's not reporting. It's like bad fan fiction where Democrats stage medical disclosures as chess moves. And I can't help but chuckle because this is exactly the sort of stunt that Trump would pull. We've talked before. If Trump had a serious medical problem, would we be told in a reasonable and transparent way, or would they do everything they can to hide it? And you only have to go back to when Trump had COVID during that first term. Remember that the whole thing was made to make it look like Trump just had a little cold. But after the fact, we found out that the real reason that they staged this heroic and triumphant helicopter ride from the White House to Walter Reed when they did was because doctors were saying, we're worried if you don't go now, you may not be able to go there under your own power, in which case you're going to be taken out on a stretcher, and that's going to look way worse. And fearing that imagery going public, Donald Trump decided, out of precaution, I'm going to take a helicopter to Walter Reed. We know from that that they would have done everything possible to hide the truth of a Trump diagnosis. The speculation about Biden is much more accurately directed towards what Trump actually did. Subsequently, I remember this like it was yesterday because we were covering it. While Trump was in the hospital, Trump's doctor and sometimes multiple doctors would come out and speak to the press, and they would not answer direct questions. There was a question as to whether Trump needed oxygen. I'm going from memory, so go fact check me. But the topic of Trump needing oxygen came up, and you would get answers from doctors like, the president has not been on oxygen over the last 24 hours, which obviously leads to the question. So hold on. Are you saying he did require oxygen previously? They didn't want to answer that. Ultimately, we found out he did get some oxygen. So all of the allegations about how Biden would try to cover this up and cover that up, the Trump administration did it with Trump's health. So it's not even good propaganda. It's lazy, it's sloppy, it's desperate. And this is where Fox News is going at this point in time. I only expect it to get even dumber. Now, we've got a phenomenal bonus show for you today. We're going to talk about the 50% Brazil tax rate. There's a political vengeance aspect to that tariff rate. Sorry. There's a political aspect to that, which I want to discuss. Secret Service has suspended some personnel after the Trump assassination attempt. They've completed their investigation. And then finally, the latest polling in the New York City mayoral race has socialist Zohran Mamdani, or Madmani, as many Republicans wrongly call him, leading that race. So we're going to get to all of that and more on the bonus show. Sign up at joinpacman.com. Get my Substack newsletter at substack.davidpacman.com. I'll see you then. Thanks a lot for watching today's show. I just want to take a second to tell you about today's sponsors. If you have trouble falling asleep or staying asleep, check out Beam's Dream Powder. It's a delicious, calming hot cocoa powder that you can mix into milk or water. It has a dose of melatonin backed by science to help you fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer. It's smooth, tasty, easy as a way to add to your nightly routine, but most importantly, it works. Melatonin is one of the most studied supplements in the world. And right now you'll get up to 40% off when you go to shopbeam.com/David and use the code David. The link is in the description.